Greetings, pet lovers. Bridget here with First Street Pets. And today we're going to talk about a subject that makes some people uncomfortable, but that is very important. What will happen to my pets after I die? So I want to start by apologizing for the crazy lighting. I am laid up with a twisted ankle, so I will be producing a lot of content this week, which is great. I'm also starting earlier than I normally do, hence the crazy lighting in the studio. So please just ignore that. I'll try to have lots of pictures to cover my face so you can look at the pictures while you're listening to my content. So today we're going to talk about 7 things that you can do to help ensure your pet's future. Now, in today's culture, death is kind of sanitized. You know, our ancestors dealt with death on a daily basis. My grandmother told me stories about preparing the loved ones in the home and having them there in the bed for people to see, the traditional Irish wake in Ireland that you hear about in the stories. They really did that. And so it was something that people saw, and maybe it made them uncomfortable, but they got used to it. They understood that that was part of life and something that we are all going to have to deal with. Whereas in today's world, most people pass away in a hospital, out of sight, and everything's taken care of by other people. So we don't have to deal with that. It's very important, I think, especially now. I've seen a lot in the news about people's pets during the time of this terrible pandemic, that I've seen pictures of people in the hazmat suits going into apartments to look for pets where the owner has gone to the hospital and never returned. So hopefully in most situations, people have told somebody to at least check on their pets, but other people, maybe they didn't. Maybe they live by themselves. Maybe they don't have any friends or relatives nearby. And so their pets may be unattended in the home. And once they're removed, then what will happen to them? They'll probably just be taken to the nearest shelter, to an unknown fate. So a little planning now will give you peace of mind for what will happen to your beloved animal companion should anything happen to you. Step 1, start talking about it. This can be an uncomfortable conversation, and one that I have had, unfortunately, zero luck with talking with my older family members. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to deal with it. So when the day comes, I'm going to be left with a big mess to clean up. And I don't want to do that to my descendants, to anyone who has to manage my affairs when I pass away. So start talking about it with whoever would be responsible. Obviously, if you have children, they will be the next of kin, or a brother or sister, a spouse, or a trusted friend, anyone that you know you would want to take responsibility for you. Start having those conversations. Have those conversations with your elders, with people who you may have to pick up the pieces if something happens to them. These conversations are uncomfortable for many people, but you still have to try. You still have to talk about it, especially when it relates to pets. Things like assets and homes can be a huge pain in the butt and take years to sort out, but at least those are just objects and money. Pets need care every single day, and you don't want to know that they've been left unattended after someone's passing. Number 2 is to choose a caregiver for your pets. Now, like me, you may have horses, you may have dogs and cats, you may have exotic animals, any number of pets. You want to choose someone that you can trust. That is number 1, because I'm going to tell you right now, there is no contract or paperwork that will make things happen the way you want them to happen when you're not here and don't have any control over it. So choose someone that you trust. I have seen this go very well. I have seen it go very badly. Now, the trusted person could be, as I mentioned, a relative or somebody who would inherit your property in any case and be responsible for your estate, or a trusted friend, relative, neighbor, anybody that you choose. It can also be a charity. For example, some people leave their pets and their assets to a humane society or a similar organization. Now, I have seen this go very well. For example, in one organization, I saw some elderly pets that I ended up pet sitting for. The 2 dogs were quite elderly, And through the program, they were placed in a home. So they were a home, but it was kind of like a permanent foster where the shelter paid for their medical care and their food and everything until the pet's death, using the assets of the person who had passed away. So the dogs got a good home. They weren't in the shelter. They were in a home. They had all their needs met until the end of their life. Now, in another situation, I've seen it go another way, where a woman left her entire estate, which was millions of dollars, multiple houses, expensive artwork, etc. She left that to a humane society along with her cats, with the understanding that they would be placed in homes. Well, they weren't placed in homes. They were kept in rooms at the shelter for years. I want to say at least 5 or 6 years. They lived at the animal shelter. And I'm sure this is not what she intended. I don't know why. I'm not going to get into my suspicions about what was going on there, because that would just be speculation. But fortunately, after years, one of the women who was a caregiver for these cats, because in this time, a couple of them passed away because they weren't younger cats. And the few that were left, the 2 women actually who were caring for the cats, ended up being able to take them home and just finally adopt them and get them out of the shelter. So the thing is, again, you don't know. You assume things are going to go one way, but they go another way. So the key is, whatever the language in your documents, you need to choose a person or organization that you know you can trust. Number 3 is consider your options. And I will say right now verbally what it says in the disclaimer on my channel, that I am not a lawyer. I'm not providing legal, financial, or medical advice to you. I'm only increasing awareness and encouraging you to seek professional help from someone in your area. Now, there are various options for these types of things. You can do a will, you can do a trust. There's varying types of instruments that you can use legally to put the care of your animals into a person. Now, I have a will, even though I'm young and healthy, as far as I know, because I don't want to worry about this. And mine is simple. It's just one person gets my assets and my pets. So it's kind of a one-shot deal. But your situation may be more complicated. You may have numerous assets and you want to divide things up among different people. You may want someone else to care for your pets than who gets the assets. So in any case, that's up to you. If you haven't looked into this, I highly recommend Nolo. It's a company that's been around for years. They have a website, they have books. It used to be called Nolo Press. I think now it's just Nolo. I did my will through their company. It's super easy. It's online. They have a number of books on legal issues. It's basically self-help legal advice. And then from there, I would recommend contacting your own family lawyer or someone with experience in that field so that you can get personalized advice for you, because the laws are different in every state, every country. So you want to make sure you're doing things correctly. But you should know that there are different options, and you can't just make an assumption that your next of kin will take your pets, because I'm telling you, a lot of times they won't. Unfortunately, in my work in shelters, I saw many animals end up at the shelter because when the person passed away, the person who was in charge of their estate or whatever dropped them off at the nearest shelter at the earliest opportunity. And it was heartbreaking. So you want to make sure that doesn't happen. Number 4 is to draw up your will. Now, this is something, as I mentioned, that I have done already, even though I'm not elderly or sick or in any danger of dying soon. And of course, we don't know when that's going to happen. So that's the point. I don't want to worry about it. But you'll want to, as I said, look at Nolo, educate yourself, talk to your own lawyer, and draw up a will. If you have assets of any kind, I would highly suggest leaving all or part of them, depending on how much you have. If you're a millionaire or just an average person with a few assets, I would recommend giving enough of those to whoever will care for your animals, because as I'm sure you know, if you're watching this channel and you're a pet lover, that pet care is expensive, and it can get more expensive as the pets age. Dental surgeries can easily be $1,000. Anytime you go to the vet, it can be hundreds of dollars. Food, special diets, care. If you have horses, those costs can be astronomical. And horses live a long time. They can live to be 25 or 30 years old. So you want to be fair with the folks or individual that you expect to care for your pets, that they have the assets to do so. So they don't have to make decisions about your pets based on what money they have. You want to make sure that they have a little nest egg to be able to provide the care that you would want and they would want. Number 5 is buy life insurance. There are so many different kinds of life insurance that I can't even begin to understand or even talk about how they work. So I'm just going to say, talk to your insurance agent. Now, I have life insurance through work. I work at the post office. There's a federal program, which is awesome. You probably will too if you work for the feds, for the state, or even for a private employer. There may be a policy that you can get through your company that's going to be at a greatly reduced rate. But any insurance company can sell you a policy, whoever you use, wherever you go for your automobiles, for whatever your other insurance needs are, they can talk to you about purchasing a policy. Now, the reason why this is important is because the person who is going to be in charge of your pets, especially if they are inheriting your other assets, they also inherit your problems. Unfortunately, in the 2020s, most people have debt. It's just a fact of life. We aren't millionaires and the cost of living is high. And if you need car repairs, home repairs, medical bills, can really knock people out and get them into debt. So you want to make sure that if someone is responsible for your assets, they also suddenly don't have to pay off $10,000 or $20,000 in debt. So you can discuss this with your insurance provider about what your needs are, what amount someone would need to take care of business when you are no longer here, and also perhaps to provide them with a little extra for the pet care, especially if you live from paycheck to paycheck and you don't have a lot of money to give them. If you leave them $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000, that should cover all the needs for your pets for however many years of life that they have left. Number 6 is to consider a trust. So this is another option different from a will. Again, not giving legal advice, just saying you should look into it. Now, legally, pets are property, which I know a lot of people argue about that. And of course, for us, pets are family. They're persons to us. But legally, they are property. And that's actually good in a way because it kind of protects your rights as to what you want to happen to them, whether you are here or not. That is how you can control what happens to the fate of your animals. Now, one of the reasons for a trust is that because an animal is not a person, you cannot leave your estate to an animal. And you'll see stories in the news about people doing this, but you actually can't. You have to leave your estate to a person who is then going to take care of the pet. So the trust can set up really super specific details. Instead of just saying, I give my pets to this person, it sets up really specific details about how you want the pet care to be provided and who will provide it. Now, laws vary from state to state, so check with a legal counsel in your specific area. Last but not least, number 7 is to choose and assign a power of attorney. Now, the reason for this is if something should happen to you and you are still alive but unable to make decisions, like you're in a car accident or something like that, where you're not able to do what you need to do to provide for your home and animals. Now, obviously, this has to be someone you trust implicitly because they are now you. They are signing documents and making decisions for you. But this can be helpful if you don't want things to be held up in the court while you're incapacitated. If there's someone you trust completely and you just want them to take over your affairs and make sure that your pets are cared for, assigning a power of attorney can be a good step to take. So I would suggest, as with the other things, discuss this with your own legal counsel. I really hope this video helps to bring awareness to this topic. I hope you've watched it to the end and that you will take steps and try to have those difficult conversations, because being polite and not bringing it up and not wanting to go there can only mean bad things for the future of our pets. Please subscribe to the channel. Click the bell icon to get notifications. The next video in this series will be on planning for pet business owners like pet sitters, because that's a whole other realm of things that need to be considered. So stay tuned and thanks for watching.